What's a happening, everybody, as we welcome you into the Take the North podcast, along with Dan Wiederer of the Chicago Tribune. I am Mark Grote of Chicago Sports Radio 670 The Score. And if I sound extra peppy today, and I'd like to think, Dan, that I am peppy most of the time, I don't know. I get kind of excited when we do mailbag episodes.
I love it. I was going to use the word pep, and then you said the word peppy because I can feel your pep. So we're on the same page here with what you're bringing to the table here. I love it. Our audience loves it, and we love our audience, which is why we opened up the mailbox this week, and we're flooded with some questions. And we have our own resident Mr. McFeely here, and Adam Stinzinski. He's going to tell us what they've brought to the table, and we're going to give them the answers they either want or don't want.
Does he have that sick Mr. McFeely mustache? Of course, the mailman from Mr. Rogers, if that reference is missing you for some reason. But it shouldn't be. Everybody should know Mr. McFeely. Oh, wait, that's Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, that's the witch from the Wizard of Oz. Different person on a bike, but similar riding skills.
I did just do that. Like the first biking, like sort of momentous music that goes with the wicked, or with Dorothy and the dog and the whatnot. And it seems very similar to me. Where is Studs? Is he here?
I think he's here with the questions.
Okay. Is he changing his tank top? What's going on? Did we lose him?
Hope we didn't lose him again with the internet, because this is a
very
important thing.
Guys.
There he is. Mailman.
Okay.
The mailman's here. The mailman is always late on Wednesday in my world.
The USPS is running a little behind today. I'm sorry. All right. So here we go. We'll just dive right into it.
Yeah.
We're gonna start high level here. Very basic. This is from Earl on Twitter.
Oh, Earl.
Have the Earl 369. Have the Bears made enough moves this season to compete a real season?
Have the Bears made enough moves this offseason to compete in the regular season?
Thank you.
I'll start, Grote.
Okay.
I think you have to figure out what your definition of compete is. I certainly think they have made enough moves this offseason to be a much better football team, to be much improved, to take on some of the better teams in the league, and to stay in games and potentially win several of them. I think this team should have an aspiration to be in the playoff chase all the way through the end of December and into January, and be playing meaningful football across the finish line of the regular season. And in that regard, I do think they have made enough moves and enough improvements into the roster, to the coaching staff, et cetera, to be more competitive on that level through the entirety of the 2025 season.
Yeah, this roster dictates that this team is going to be better. I thought they had a pretty good roster going into last year as well. I mean, I think we all sort of applauded at the time Ryan Poles' work in putting enough support around Caleb Williams. I was wrong about the offensive line. Having an average to below average offensive line, as the Bears did most of last year, was hurtful, along with a lot of other things, to Caleb Williams' progress. So I do think with everybody being there an extra year, when I talk about everybody, I'm mainly talking about somebody like Odunze, that he is there this year, that you added Luther Burden, that you the interior of the offensive line. I mean, that all those things dictate that you are a better team. It should add up in the area of win column with some of these moves that they have made, not to mention the natural development that will have occurred from last year. So, yeah, I think that they're better. I'm not ready to sit here and say that they're better than the teams in the division, but ready to compete better with them. Let's say that.
Look, like you've heard me say on this podcast, our audience has heard me say that this year is set up to be what last year was supposed to be, right?
Yeah,
which is a team
way to put it.
Becoming more relevant. And so I talk all the time about teams either trying to get on the staircase, the escalator, or the elevator. This feels like a staircase year for me until it's not, right? Like until you get to the point of the escalator where you can go up a little bit quicker. And so right now it's going to be a climb. And I think they've got the pieces in place to start to make that climb and do so in a way that's encouraging for everybody involved. That includes you, Mark Grote, and me, Dan Wiederer.
I'm encouraged. Next question.
All right, fellas. We'll dive in a little bit deeper now. And this is everybody's favorite topic this offseason, the running back position. So our friend Rob Nide on Twitter asked us this. The running back position still worries me. Is management really that with Swift, as he uses our, Mailbag, and faith in a rookie backup, that being Kyle Monungai.
All right, Grote. Comfortable is a choice sometimes. The Bears are going to have to make the choice to be comfortable with what they have. We know they weren't entirely confident with what they had in the running backs room. Otherwise, they would not have gone into draft weekend with eyes on trying to figure out if they could get Ashton Genty in their building. They would not have gone into the second day of the draft with active moves to try to pursue Trevion Henderson there. And so there were things that the Bears were hoping to do to upgrade that running backs room that did not come to fruition. So where does it send them now? It sends them to the starting gate of training camp with DeAndre Swift as the lead back. You have obviously Roschon Johnson in the mix. You have Kyle Monungai, a draft pick. And don't forget about Ewan Wheeler, who we saw at the end of the spring back on the field. He's going to have his opportunities in August to, try to state a claim to some sort of role on this football team. I think they would like to have more in the arsenal in the backfield, but they have what they have right now. And so they have to create that comfort with the moves that they make and the way that they structure their running game and this offense around the backs that they have.
Right. It's not ideal that they have the same group of running backs that they weren't able to upgrade. You said it well, Dan. I mean, let's be honest. The Bears did want to upgrade the running back room in the draft. They were not able to. I look at one thing that I take very seriously, something that you and I, Dan, both learned from within the organization and some of the conversations that you and I were a part of. And that's that they really believe that I'll paraphrase that the way Roschon Johnson was used last year was botched, that it was and some of it lays on Roschon Johnson. I only use him as symbolism because he's the backup running back and he might be fighting for number 2 time with Monungai. I say that, I bring that up because maybe they botched DeAndre Swift too in the way that they used him. And again, we saw plenty of times where it's like, come on, Swift, just hit that hole, man. Stop dancing around. Yeah. But if we can confidently say from hearing what you and I have heard from within the organization that one running back was botched, then it is possible that you look at this palette, this plate, this tray of running backs and say, okay, I think Ben Johnson can make them better. Is this going to be like a top 10 running backs room in the NFL? I doubt that. But if it's somewhere in the top 15 and Ben Johnson can start to do some of the things that he wants to do with that running backs room in his first year, then I think they're going to have a decent situation. Probably not a great situation, but a decent situation in that running backs room this year.
We've talked about it before with Swift. He was in an RB2 role with Ben Johnson the last time they were together in Detroit, and he averaged 5.5 yards per carry in that role. Ben Johnson has been very forward about the things that DeAndre Swift needs to work on to be maximally effective in this offense. And part of that is staying on tracks and understanding that sometimes a 2 and a 3 yard run is good and you don't have to hit the big play every time. What I love, and you've heard me talk in glowing terms about DeAndre Swift for a while now, is that there will be no friction. DeAndre Swift will listen to Ben Johnson. He will listen to Eric Bieniemy. He will hear the coaching that they are offering him, and he will apply it. And so I think you have a good mix here of trying to get the most out of him in 2025, whatever that may be within this offense. And so I do like that there is going to be buy-in. And there's going to be an effort here to make sure that DeAndre Swift has a much better season than he had in his first year in a Bears uniform.
Yeah, no doubt. And like I've said it probably 5 times before on episodes prior, but at some point in time, like Ben Johnson, considering who he is, what the resume says, what he's being paid relative to other Bears coaches, relative to the NFL, Ben Johnson has to be the because of guy. Your running backs room is better because of Ben Johnson. Your routes are better with the wide receivers. Odunze is better this year because of Ben Johnson. Caleb Williams is better this year because of Ben Johnson. So I keep that factor in mind. Not that I think he's going to work magic, but I'm not going to be afraid to put pressure on Ben Johnson this year to say, okay, hey, let's see you work your magic on a roster that is not the Detroit Lions.
On that topic, before we move on, I just want to say that I'm eager, given how honest Ben has been with us in that press room since the start of the offseason, to hear in the early stages of training camp what his vision for Monungai is. Because I don't know yet. I can't figure it out. Maybe they don't know yet and they've got to figure it out. But I would like to hear some honest assessments of what does rookie year Kyle Monungai look like and what do they hope they can squeeze out of him.
Right. And is he better? Like I always look at Khalil Herbert as the standard for like late round picks.
Yeah,
like
day 3 guy. Yeah.
Right. Is he even better than Khalil Herbert or not? Because because if he's just Khalil Herbert, and look, Khalil Herbert was what, a 5th round pick? So in theory, he was a better prospect and consequently maybe will have been a better running back than Kyle Monangai. But I think that's a good name for me to throw out there because there is so much hope for Monangai. And I'm not here to dash people's hopes, but I do think that there needs to be some perspective on a 7th round running back pick that everybody is mentioning right now as, oh yeah, he's going to contribute. Is he? I don't know.
Well said.
Let's get on to question number 3, dear Adam Studzinski.
And clarification, Khalil Herbert was a 6th round pick.
How dare you clarify things?
I just want to make sure. I just want to make sure we're all being true. And hey, don't forget Jordan Howard, pretty good late round pick too. So anyway,
he was a 5th round, right?
Yeah, I think he was a 5th round.
He was a 5th rounder. Yep.
Yeah, I got okay.
So all right, we're all on the same page now. Anyway, moving on to our next question. This one comes from listener and question submitter Adam Anderson on Twitter.
What up, Adam?
Adam. Hello, Adam.
Hello, Adam Anderson. Is that really his name, Adam Anderson?
It's what it says. It says it right here, and we all know that nobody lies about their name on the internet. Like
it sounds like, quite frankly, Studs, this is right up your alley because it sounds to me like a Simpsons name.
It does actually. I can see Carl, that. Yeah, Carl Carlson.
Carl Carlson.
Okay. Well, hey, I take Adam in his word. I trust all Adams.
Fair enough. I love you, Adam.
All right. Thank you. Well, all right. So anyway, to Adam's question, we haven't heard much about Rome Odunze this offseason. He didn't have the same level of success last year as other rookies like Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., and McConkey. How has he looked this offseason, and what are reasonable expectations this season?
Grote, I love this question, and I'm going to give part of an answer, then hear your answer, and then I'm going to give some actual numbers at the end of this answer.
Wow, you're dominating this answer. Okay, I'll just play my little part. I'll just wait.
Well, you can tell me if you disagree with any of it, but I did a little bit of research on I'm not going to share what the research was, but it helps inform me a little bit.
Let me just mute this mic and sit back and listen to Uncle Dan. Go ahead.
I will say this. You've sat in the same rooms that I've sat in, and you've heard this new coaching staff take to Rome Odunze quickly. They understand what he's made of mentally. They know his ability to take things that are taught in the playbook, things that are taught in the meeting room, and apply it to the field quickly. The work ethic with Rome Odunze has never been an issue. He should be set up for a year 2 breakthrough. Presence of DJ Moore notwithstanding, Rome Odunze should be ready to take that chemistry with Caleb Williams to the next level. You heard the way Antoine Randall talked about him in the spring. You heard the way Ben Johnson talked about him in the spring. Different set of circumstances last year than those receivers that were mentioned. Neighbors obviously is a more electric talent, a more electric playmaker. Ladd McConkey has his own set of skills that really translate well in the offense he was in out there with Justin Herbert. And Brian Thomas Jr. had one of the most underrated rookie seasons that we've seen in a long time. Rome Odunze is a top 10 pick, Grote, and top 10 picks in year 2 at this position should be capable of big things. And so I think Rome is ready to maximize whatever opportunity is given to him. Caleb is going to have to figure out a way to maximize Rome. And pretty soon I'm going to give you a few numbers to set a bar for Rome Odunze, but I want to hear your takes on where you think he's headed in year 2.
Yeah. I need much more from Rome Odunze this year. I thought last year was just solid. Okay. From Rome Odunze, he had, and if I may, just spitting out a few numbers here. 54 catches, 734 yards, 3 touchdowns, average 13.6 yards per catch. And if you adjust those, I mean, I still do. I still adjust for the 17-game season, like what the precedent was when it was 16 games. Like you look at that, that's 634 yards. Just really relative to other receivers in the league, not doing the rookie scale relativity thing. He had an average year, and I remember right from the preseason when he had that moment where he misjudged his foot placement. Remember when they had the two
back of the end zone,
right? The play football writing on the field. So I was like, okay, and like it wasn't like, oh God, there's a problem, but it reminded me like in heavy duty because we'd heard just how great he was. Everybody loves Rome Odunze. Like, oh yeah, he's still a rookie. And it played out like that during the season. But enough about last year. I do think that he's going to be better this year, obviously. And I think that he's got a chance. I don't know if I'm looking at the takeoff as much as you are, like the blast off, but I do think he's going to be better. I just wonder And again, we always have the conversation about whether or not these guys are going to be healthy or if they've been left behind a little bit. But with Colston Loveland and Luther Burden coming into the picture, is that going to actually take away some from Rome Odunze? He's going to get the first shot. Luther Burden is probably not going to get more snaps than him at this point, but it does make me wonder, when you are spreading it out, at least in theory, so much, how much of a part of this is Rome Odunze going to be relative to some of the others?
This is what I emphasize here. And Rome Odunze is a top 10 pick. And for teams like the Bears to find their way toward the upper echelon in the NFL, you need to take your top 10 picks and have them materialize quickly. There's no waiting around for 2-3 years and saying, oh, maybe it'll come. Like they don't have that luxury. Your top 10 picks have to become difference makers, potential Pro Bowlers, right? And so like Rome Odunze has to have that mindset, which I think he does on a daily basis of how can I squeeze everything out of this day that allows me to squeeze everything out of this season. And so I'm going to give you numbers here. I'm going to give you 76 catches, 1,093 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Studs, bookmark this for our end of season review, and we can revisit what that looks like. I don't think that is a overly high bar to clear. I mean, I think it's going to be challenging to get there. He's going to have to stay healthy. He's going to have to develop the rapport with Caleb Williams. But again, 76, 1093, and 6. That's where I'm setting the projection. And so there's your projection. There are your numbers for year 2.
I got to tell you, like, that is reasonable. I like that. Yeah, that you're not going overboard. I mean, you have to take into mind the other weapons that exist. And so, no, I like that. I like that for Rome Odunze. I mean, he's got to you got to set the bar at 1,000 yards for somebody like him. Again, in a 17
top 10 pick.
Top 10 pick, 17-game season. And you can look at it like he did have 734 yards last year. So to jump to 1093, I think I'm on board with that. One final question in this particular mailbag episode, Mr. Studzinski.
All right. And real quick, as an aside, what about the idea of, could the Bears have 2 1,000-yard receivers if Rome has 1,000 yards and DJ Moore? I think we expect to have 1,000 yards. How about that? That doesn't happen in 12
talking
years?
About Brandon and Alshon, right? Yeah. Like that's probably where you're looking. And that, Alshon Jeffrey is a good name to bring up because that was a 2nd-round pick. And you remember when he got into year 2, got a little more comfortable, got some chemistry, really had his most success with Josh McCown, to be honest with you. But like, you should be expecting a similar jump in year 2 from Rome.
May I raise you maybe I'm wrong on this one, but I think I'm right. Jeff Graham and Curtis Conway were those 2,000-yard guys way back.
Oh my God. I'll do some research while you guys answer this question.
Am I right about that?
I think you are, Grote.
Yeah. Get Wanstead in here. Well, that was a Wani.
Jeff was a great receiver.
Curtis
didn't want to come here, though. He was afraid to come here.
I want to say that when Marshall and Jeffrey did it, that was the first time a Bears receiving duo had ever combined for 2 1,000-yard seasons.
Interesting. You might be right.
I'll double check.
Yeah,
I'll double check while you guys answer this next question.
Perfect. I'm looking forward.
So okay. Final question for this episode here comes from Chris Woll, WOLL.
Hey, how you doing? WOLL.
Traffic and weather on the 5s.
Okay, so Chris asks, how is Ryan Bates? Is Luther Burden injured, or is it really because he does not have a contract with all guaranteed money? Seems sketchy. He is the highest drafted 2nd rounder with the best argument for all guaranteed money.
All right, we're going to work on that in reverse order. First, on the Luther Burden front, I would be more alarmed if the other 2nd-round picks were already signed by the Bears, but Ozzie Trapillo and Shamar Turner still waiting on their contracts to be finalized as well. There's a lot of discussions around the league about round 2 guarantees, as was alluded to there, and you got to work through those things. I never elevate my concern on contract situations with rookies until we get about 10 days out from training camp. Right now, it's a keep an eye on situation, and then we get within 10 days of rookie reporting, which the rookies are scheduled to report on July 19th. You start to go, okay, what's going on here? And then as you get closer to rookie reporting day, you got to start to figure some things out. I think Jaquan Brisker, if I'm not mistaken, as a rookie, went pretty late in the process and almost was going to miss the start of training camp, then got things done at the last minute and was there on time and made things happen. We obviously know the worst case scenario is what happened with Roquan when he came in as a rookie. That was a 1st-round pick with some other things going on. But right now, Luther Burden's health is more a concern for me than the contract situation. And so we need to see, as you know, with our own eyes, is Luther Burden ready to play football at a high level for the Bears during training camp? Does he invest in the types of practices that Ben Johnson wants to run? The footnote on this is, how is Ryan Bates still hurt? I don't know. Ryan Bates has been hurt since he got here. I think it's actually an important question, because we've talked about all the improvements to the offensive line. We believe that the interior of the offensive line has added 3 guys that should be pretty solid. There's also durability questions. Obviously Joe Thuney doesn't miss time at all. Drew Dahlman's been pretty reliable, but Jonah Jackson was hurt last year. And so if you need a backup guard, you're going to have to start to fortify offensive line depth the minute you step into training camp next month. And so I hope the Bears are ready with plans B, C, D, and E, because we've seen too many seasons come unraveled because their depth on the offensive line, which Ryan Poles touted last year as being stupendously strong, ended up being one of the weaknesses of the team, and we can't have that happen again.
Yeah, man. I imagine he regrets saying that, because it was quite the hyperbole that came out of Ryan Poles' mouth last year regarding the depth of the offensive line. Let me tackle both of these things. I don't want to get out of control here with Luther Burden and say that this player is like complete red alert and there's problems here. But I'm going to say it at every step so far of Luther Burden's career with the Chicago Bears, it's been bumpy. So it just like there's like no panic or anything like that. But even like when he was drafted and sort of like not really caring, or like seemingly so angry that he was drafted in the second round that he didn't seem happy with the Bears. Even a little thing like getting the jersey number 87 and not being happy with that, and then getting injured and not being around. So, and like this is a second round receiver for the Chicago Bears in his rookie year. I hope that the talent just takes over, and it might. And again, like, I'm not in panic mode, but I understand where the concern comes from Luther Burden, because so far that nothing has been smooth with Luther Burden. And I do want to see him on the field in training camp. And if I don't see him on the field in training camp from the beginning, I might start to be panicked. As for Ryan Bates, my God, Ryan Bates feels like something from like 10 years ago already, because last year we were hitting everybody over the head. The Bears were hitting us over the head with Ryan Bates. He's gonna compete for the center spot with Coleman Shelton and be that great depth piece. And then all of a sudden Coleman Shelton takes over the center spot. He was like this super offensive lineman that Ryan Poles has been trying to get since he got here. And then it was a dud. He feels like a relic of this team, and maybe he will still be a contributor to the Bears, but what just a colossal fail so far from a concept standpoint that Ryan Bates has symbolized for the Bears.
Indeed.
Let me wrap this puppy up for Dan Wiederer of the Chicago Tribune, for somewhere out there, our executive producer, Adam Studzinski. I think he just had to put in another load of tank tops. I am Mark Grote. Thank you for listening to and watching the Take the North podcast.
Great talk. See you out there.